Folks, I got to make this an addendum to the last video. Only got about 10 minutes of this one, so bear with me. All right, so we're going to make some antibiotics specifically from the inside of this plant. So what we're going to do is first you cut the top of that so that it's nice and flat. See how that works? All right, now I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to simply peel the side of that off. You see that? Just like that, and you're gonna pull. Now the best way to doing this is just to slide the edge of the knife very carefully, mind you, because you are cutting at yourself. This is how this action works. You have to cut towards yourself to do this, which is why you see my thumb cocked over, holding the knife, and I'm pushing this against the knife, okay? And all I'm doing is trying to expose that pith down in the middle of it. And you do that all the way around the outside of this until all you get is that juicy green pith on the inside. And you can do it much quicker, cutting away from yourself, but you lose a lot of the pith doing this. So you got to be ready to do it quickly. When you lose the pith, you have less surface area and therefore less chemical bonders for the chemical that's within it to stay bound to the plant. So you got to do this quickly if you're going to do it. You've got to take off every little shred of the hard material which holds the salicylic acid in it, the aspirin chemicals. You got to take all that off. You got to take off the wood off the outside so that you can stomach the pith, okay? Now this part right here, this pithy part, that is what we're after, okay? That green stuff on the inside of that white stuff on the inside of that green stuff. So now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the knife and simply edge on, break off a small piece. Now, that is 3 doses. Yes, that's 3 freaking doses. That is 1 dose. Now I'm just going to give you a reference angle on this, okay? This is a fillet knife made by Rapala, okay? Reference angle for this, so that you can see how big this little tiny piece is. And I am holding it according to the spine, okay? That's according to the spine. It's a tiny little piece. This tiny little piece holds enough antibiotics in it that, you know, mushed up or what have you, you can fight a pretty gnarly infection. This bundle right here is enough for a poultice, and this poultice, when it's mashed up, mixed with water, and, you know, given the necessities, will actually create an antibiotic so potent that not a lot of bacterium out there can really survive it. On top of all this, if you're not going to be able to use it as antibiotics or what have you, you can always turn this bark into a rope. Now this is something that you learn in wood skills, okay? You twist a bunch of bark fibers together and you get rope. Really, really, really strong rope. I can't break that. That's really strong rope. Mind you, all it is, just a little bit of bark. It's been twisted together. Literally twisted together. And I cannot break it with all the force in my body. Okay? It actually kind of put little cuts in my fingers there. This stuff is really strong. And that's why you can sit there and pound it for days to get the salicylic acid out of it. and still pull all the fibers out of the water, out of the tea. All right, since I'm running out of time here to tell you guys about this stuff, I want you to understand you've always got an option when it comes to big pharma, and it's all around you. I mean, you can see all of this plant life here. It's all there, you know, and it's there for you to use. You know, it's not just pot. It's not just willow trees. It's not just kratom leaves and bushes. It's not just prickly lettuce. No, it is all of these and more. It is the knowledge of how to use these things specifically. I mean, you could turn one of these things into a pretty good fishing pole. You know? It's actually a pretty good piece of a twig. You can get it to make shapes and, you know, baskets and stuff with this. There's no end of how you can use this stuff. The pith inside is an antibiotic that can save your life from a nasty infection. Stop putting your faith in big pharma. And, you know, doctors and nurses who are out there right now who really want to make a big difference and, you know, want to make this a better place and want us to all be able to survive and have, you know, not just survive, but thrive. All of us need to be learning these things. You know, what can be used? What good utilization can I get from a plant in my particular area? What plants have these kinds of chemicals? And how do I know these chemicals? Now, me personally, I know these sorts of things because I learned them when I was a child. But not everybody learns that. So one of the quick and easiest rules of thumb, all right, and we say rule of thumb, you know, because, sorry, thumb on the screen. We say rules of thumb because, you know, about 100 and some odd years ago, if you beat your wife with a stick that was no wider than your thumb, it was considered legal. And that was where rule of thumb came from. However, let's not be so morbid about it. Let's just say, you know, as a general rule, learn the plants by doing one thing in particular. You take a part of the plant that you are going to use later, okay, like a leaf or a bud, okay, and you take that and you take your wrist like so. And what you're going to do is you're going to break this down so that the juices come out. You've got to do it this way. It doesn't work any other way. You got to break this down so the juices come out, and then you're going to rub some of that here where you're not going to be touching things, okay, for the next 24 hours. You don't touch this, you don't wash this, you don't nothing, okay? And you watch this area to see if it turns red. If it turns red, you throw that away, you get yourself something else. And you test it on the other hand. And you wash this off after that 24 hours because you're going to need to, okay? Now that's a general rule. It's the same thing that the United States military uses in order to understand what is dangerous and what is not when in a survival situation, such as SEER or SAR or ESAR, you know, escape, situation, avoidance, and recapture, you know, escape, survive, and avoid recapture, ESAR. Anyways, a lot of Minutemen, they get secondhand training, which is to say, you know, a lot of the guys out there, they get training from guys who were in the forces, in the armed forces. So their training isn't really necessarily all that complete, you know? And so they have to go the extra mile to even be conditioned as possible operators. That being said, some of them get their training firsthand, like United States Army, United States Navy, United States Marine Corps, U.S. Air Force. These big names, they all get their training. Anyways, it's a good idea to go and hunt that down. As it stands, we're running out of time here, so I am the guardsman Lane Price, Commodore, USPA, signing off. Y'all have a good future week, all right? And much love, y'all. Bye.